World of Nutrition. My name is Sue Roscoff, and I'm here with the World of Ability Podcast Network. And this is World of Nutrition, and we are here at 1 o'clock Hawaii time. She is from Hawaii, and just wait, because there's two standing in the wings right now. So, Marilyn, so happy to have you here. I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the World of Nutrition podcast, Nutrition for Your Body, Mind, and Soul. And today I have two amazing guests that I'm going to be talking, and we're going to learn a little bit more about them. So my first guest is Heather. Heather was born and raised on Oahu and has always felt a deep connection to her community and the people within it. With a strong passion for helping others grow, she brings a solution-focused and data-informed approach to therapy. Heather Faustin, with Making a Difference Counseling Service, is known for her ability to quickly identify underlying needs and guide clients towards practical, meaningful change. By blending evidence-based practices with creative strategies, she meets people where they are and helps them build the skills to create the life they truly want. Grounded in compassion, resilience, and collaboration, Heather is committed to making a difference, one person, one breakthrough at a time. So Heather, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you for that awesome introduction. It's great to be here. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Yes, please tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, so definitely. I am a mobile therapist, and how we've been able to really set us apart from other services on the island is that we not only meet you where you're at in terms of your growth and your process. We literally meet you where you're at. And so our biggest flexes, I like to say, is that we buy sprinter vans and we gut them and we make them into therapeutic office spaces. And so that gives us the ability to literally travel to parts of Oahu and meet clients where they're at. So we go, our biggest leg of the starfish is we go to schools. We have a lot of school contracts, and so we provide therapy services within the school setting during the school day. And so this logistically breaks down a lot of barriers for families and for students, so that they don't have to take off work for the entire day or half the day for a 1 hour appointment. We meet them there and provide the services there. And so we've seen a lot of benefit with being able to find that need and fill it by offering a solution. And then we also offer our therapy services within the community. So not just in school settings, but we frequent parks, we frequent shopping centers, and even neighborhoods. Wherever our clients are, we arrange to meet with them. And so that has been a big piece of our practice over the past 2 years.
Well, this is amazing to me because I've never heard of that. I've always driven to all my appointments. So how does one get to be a client? How do they learn more about this and see if they're qualified for this?
Yeah, so everything is done through insurance. Everything's billed through insurance. And so as long as you have health insurance, there's usually unlimited mental health appointments that you can have throughout the year. And so it's like you would go to a regular doctor's appointment. You call and you schedule an appointment, you do the intake, and then you schedule your first appointment, and then the services are billed through insurance, and then you have a small copay. Whatever plan that you're on determines that amount. And because we're so unique in our approach, we haven't had to do any marketing. Everything has been word of mouth. So, yeah, we target a lot of the private schools here on Oahu, and just through there, families talk and we get calls and emails all the time. And so, yes, we're actually in a very exciting place where we're expanding. So we're working on mobile office number 2 and 3, and we're actively bringing on other licensed therapists. And the idea is that the more offices we have, the more therapists we have, the more reach we have to help students and families all across the island. And so I have big dreams. I want a big fleet of vans here on Oahu. I want one on every island, and we'll go from there. So it's a very exciting time.
That is super exciting. I love this so much. I mean, that is just helping so many families and kids out there, especially right now. I mean, there's no but there's no school today because of the weather and the rain and everything. So it's like, kids are being affected in all sorts of ways, not just mentally with the weather too. So I
Yes.
love that you're helping people.
No, thank you. Yes, it's very rewarding. It can be a lot. And so that's why I love the theme of your guys' podcast, being able to have balance and be in alignment, right? And you have to be in order to be a practitioner or even just to be a well-functioning member of society. Like to be in alignment is so important.
Yeah. And so with the kids, like, I'm just curious because I have a son. I have two teenagers now,
Mm,
teenage
fun.
boys. So yeah, I'm like, I would love to figure out like, one is on the autism spectrum, one is not. However, like, how does um how does that work with as far as you talking with them or getting them to open up? I would love to hear any maybe testimonies if you're able to.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so I've done both sides. I've done where I've had an office space and we've had, clients and students come in and and then now we have this mobile practice. And so there's something about the environment that takes a lot of the pressure off. And so when kids come into to meet with me in our mobile office space, it's a different feel. It's a different energy because it's like less threatening almost. And that's things that families have shared and also the students have shared too. Like, oh, it's like, oh wow, this is cool. And so it's like it's almost like an awe factor, and it naturally just breaks down those walls that are built up. And what's great about it too is that depending on the client, we do have therapy animals that we bring as well. And so having animals, they have this instant reaction of like, oh my gosh, so cute. So no matter what space that you're in, emotionally, seeing the animal, it briefly gets you out of that moment, and it just allows for the space to be able to be just open and transparent. And I often tell my students that they have a lot of people in their life telling them what's right, what's wrong, what's good or bad, what they're supposed to do, what they shouldn't do, and I'm not that person. So what my role is to ask you and help you uncover what it is that you value, what it is that you want to accomplish in your life. What do you want your life to look like? So we're going to ask those questions and we'll help you discover those answers. And as we move along this process, if you start to get off track, I'm going to be the first person to say, "Yo, we're not in line with what you said that you wanted. So let's get back on track. And what does that look like?" And I'm also the biggest cheerleader, of like, "Wow, you are like really on track and you're motivated, and we are set out to accomplish this goal. Like, let's get after it. We're continuing to do good work." And so that approach really works as well because again, they have so many adults in their lives, like talking at them, right? And all from a good place. And I always tell parents and the students is that it's never going to be a session where we're venting about, oh, my mom does this or the teachers are this and that. It's always perspective taking. And so I allow them to vent their feelings about the adults in their life. However, I always reassure parents and I let the students know that it's always coming from a place of love, and there's a different perspective. So yes, you say like, Mom doesn't understand, or she just doesn't get it, or she's putting so much pressure on me." And so it's like, okay, I hear you, and those are very valid feelings. However, what do you think her heart is in this situation? And being able to have those discussions, it helps children see their parents as humans and not these people we put on pedestals that are supposed to be perfect. And so, yeah, that's just a glimpse into some of the work that we do, and how we break down those walls and get people to open up.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much because yes, as a parent, I'm just like, I love my children and I want the best for them. And I maybe too am too close. So it's like hearing from
Mm,
an outside perspective, hey, your mom really does care about you, or she really does want the best for you. And it's not
yeah.
just, you know, pressure, pressure, pressure. Like, yeah. And then do you
And that,
work with the parents too to come up with solutions on how to best navigate with the children?
Yes, and that's the beautiful part too, is I get to work with the parents and share perspective from the child as well. Because a lot of the times the child is externalizing behaviors that looks like they're being lazy or disrespectful or, unengaged, unmotivated, all those things. However, it's so much more. And so I work with the parents on seeing the thing behind the thing. So if like your child is appearing disrespectful, like where is that coming from? What are they really trying to communicate, right? Like a lot of parents say, man, they're just so like angry. Like I say one thing and it's like they lash out. And it's because they haven't quite figured out how to communicate the root of that anger or lashing out. And so a lot of times it could be, man, like we've been over this. I've told you this before. Like I'm not feeling like you're hearing me. I'm tired or I'm nervous or I'm anxious and I just need you to listen, not lecture me. So usually that's the thing behind the thing. And so really working with the child on being able to communicate and express that in a way where parents don't have to filter and vice versa, right? However, in the beginning, there is that what's the thing behind the thing that I like to bring up for both sides, for parent and child. And I always applaud parents. I say in that first conversation, it takes a lot for a parent to reach out and say, "Hey, like I need some help. Like I have done all of that I could, and now I'm at a place where I know something needs to change. However, I don't know what that looks like." And so there's a huge sense of vulnerability as a parent and as an adult to do that. And so I applaud all parents who reach out for support. And it truly does take a village, right? Like you're the parent role, and teachers have their role, coaches have their role, and then as a therapist, we play another role. And so all together, we work together on the same page of helping raise this child to be a productive member of society. And so it's beautiful.
I love that. Yeah. So something I don't know if I got to share with you yet is, I parented my kids the way that I was parented, which was kind of fear-based. So wasn't super until I took a class, 3 years ago, and then I was like, oh, there's another way that I could
Mm.
parent more out of love instead of fear. And so I began switching. However, my oldest is like, you're too late. And that like just broke my heart. I was like, no, I'm not too late. I'm just gonna keep loving on you and you know, um, just doing my best here. Yeah.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
thinks
And
that I don't
staying
listen. Yeah.
Yeah, and staying consistent and continuing to plant those seeds, even though he says comments like, well, you're too late, like the damage is done, or you just continue like showing up and pouring that love. And it is sinking in there, and we hope that you will get to see it. However, it does make a difference. So I definitely encourage you to continue planting those seeds. Because every time that you do, you're watering it a little bit more and a little bit more. And he's feeling it, even though he may not be able to express it.
Mhm.
It's still very important.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I know that we're all just doing the best that we
Yeah.
can with the information we have. My parents did the best that they could, and
Mhm.
I did the best I could. I am doing the best that I can, and just being open and talking with people like you, and learning like what's out there. It's such a huge support. So thank you for everything you do, and I would love to hear a couple of your favorite stories that you have with the kids or the parents with breakthroughs.
Oh, yes. Okay. So one definitely comes to mind. This is a client I've had for going on 6 years now. I first started seeing him his eighth grade summer coming into ninth grade. And so it was like right in the midst of COVID. So he's starting high school coming out of COVID. So it's with the intention of like, we're doing online school first and then integrating them back into school. And still, it was still a very like unknown time what things were going to look like. And I remember meeting him on campus for like a tour and like introductions. And he was so quiet and like just was like uninterested and just like, okay, you're a lady and I'm a student. I'm starting high school. Like, when is this over? You could just read the energy. And that's how it was for um 2 solid years. Like I'd see him in the hallway and he's looking at his phone. He's kind of a student who just likes, is on his own, and he was okay being alone. He just liked to be on his phone. He was also on the spectrum, high functioning autism. And every time I walk past him, I'd say, this isn't his real name. I'd say, "Hey Timmy, how you doing?" And he would know who I am, not looking at me. He'd go, hi, Miss Faustin. I'm doing fine." And he wouldn't even look up. However, every single time I passed him, I committed to saying hi to him. And finally, during his junior year, he had some things come up in his life. And his mom reached out to me and was like, "I know that you've tried the past couple years. However, like I really want to, make this consistent." And so he started coming consistently once a week, reluctantly, and we'd play Speed, a card game. And every week that we just continue to play and play and play. And I'd bring up a question like, "Hey, how are you? Like, how are you really doing?" And he would ignore it and we'd play until one day finally he just opened up and was like, "My dad's in jail. He just got arrested and he's in prison." And like he just started to outpour all of this emotion that he had pent up. And I truly believe that that moment would not have happened if we didn't stay consistent for the 2 years prior. It was like it finally had paid off, continuing to show up even when he would give me nothing. And so I still work with him now, and he is such a beautiful soul, and he is so committed to making his life better. And he's in college now, and he thought that he would never go to college, and he's working. He has his license, and so i- this was a student who in elementary school. I'm not sure you are probably familiar, but he was in special education. He had a individualized education plan, and a lot of times kids go through school and they always have one. The intention is that they have these IEPs and that we no longer need one. It's to work on these skills so that they can get off of it. However, a lot of times that students just need the extra support. They have it until when they have it until they graduate. However, he was able to actually migrate off of it, transition off of it. And so he was had an IEP from like first grade all the way up until 10th grade. And then he was fully integrated back into the regular school setting. And that's when really things shifted for him. And so, yeah, just being able to, like we were talking about, plant those seeds and continue to water. There were so many times where, he didn't show up to sessions, and we have a policy like, if you don't show up for 3 sessions, like, "I'm sorry, you're not ready. Like, it's time to move on. Come back when you're ready." However, I don't approach things in that way because I just know that just showing up is a huge impact for kids. And so, and man, and as I'm telling this story, there's so many faces that are popping up in my, I've seen this one girl from when she was in 4th grade, and now she's in 11th grade. And to be able to see her transition, um, all the way from then until now is just like, man. And she'll go through challenges where I was like, "Yo, we talked about this when you were in like 5th grade." And now you see where it's showing up here, and being able to have that rapport and that relationship where she receives it, where she's like, "Yeah, you're right. Like you did tell me that." And so the consistency of showing up and meeting them where they're at and being patient, something in, and just remaining patient. Show it's like, whoa, this is why I do it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, it was
Okay, good.
picking up a little bit, and I
Yeah.
got it though.
Okay, good, good,
That's
good.
so amazing. Thank you. And
Yeah.
what about with the parent? Because sometimes, um,
Mm.
I worked at a school for 8 years. So I worked at Hawaii Baptist Academy for 8 years, and it was just like, I would love to hear like sometimes the parents just don't know what to do, or how are you able to guide a parent or
Yeah.
parents?
Oh, yes. Okay. So one parent definitely comes to mind. She is a single mom. She comes from a very traumatic upbringing, and just even in her adulthood, she has had to endure a lot of trials and tribulations that one human shouldn't have to. And basically, she went from her home on the mainland with just the shirt on her back and her newborn, and she came to Hawaii to start over. And she is difficult in the sense of she's had to be very strong and very guarded. And yeah, okay, you say that I can trust you, but I can't really trust you kind of parent. And so even though she came to me seeking support for her daughter and for their family, there's so much resistance. And I'm going on year number 3 with them, and the first year and a half was really tough. And it triggered things within me as a human of like, yo, does this person not see my heart? Like, I'm only here to help. Like, I don't have to be here. And so eh, having it bring up those kinds of things in, I have strong faith and I believe in Jesus. And so just in, in praying through it, I uh, and I asking me. And that has been because there were numerous times where it was like it was so like I could just say this isn't a good fit and like continue to show up. And that's always been my thing.
Okay, there you are.
Is
I
that
couldn't hear
him?
you for a second. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if it's my internet or what's going on. Are we back in?
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. I'm not sure the last part you heard.
I was hearing how you were helping a parent that was struggling and she didn't really trust you in the beginning.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, and so there were so many moments throughout our working relationship where it became so almost toxic could be too strong of a word, but to get that point across, where it could have been like, this isn't working, let's refer out. However, I knew that this family and this parent needed consistency, and I really felt that showing up and continue to work through and lay down my programs that were coming up and just lead in love is what I was being called to do. And when I was able to do that, like put down my pride aside and show up for them and what they're needing, I was able to see, with the different lenses that she just needed reassurance that she's doing a good job. and our relationship is definitely a lot more collaborative than it was before. And so it's beautiful because there were so many pieces of evidence in her story that solidified I can't trust anybody. Like when things go bad, there's no way to redeem it. There's no restoration possible. And so being able to work with her through this is a small piece of evidence that restoration is possible and that you can move forward even after things get difficult. And so that's the most current one that I've been able to see. And it's beautiful. It really is.
I love that so much. Please tell our listeners if you have any events coming up or how people can find you.
Yes, definitely. So I have a website. It's makeadifferencecounseling.com. And you can read about all of our services there, and you can request for an appointment through the contact information there. And we work pretty quickly. So we know that a lot of services here on Oahu were so bombarded with a lot of referrals. And so we really make it a point to reach out to you within no more than 2 to 5 business days and to get you scheduled and in within that time frame. And so, yeah, check us out. We're also on Instagram, and yeah, we will keep you guys posted with any events we have coming up.
I love it. I do love your Instagram. And thank you so much, Heather, for being a guest on today's World of
Oh,
Nature.
thank you for having me.
Yes, so thrilled. All right. So our next guest is Maureen. Maureen Puaena O'Shaughnessy. She helps people move beyond the obstacles that limit their success and fulfillment so that they can step into more of their true potential. Her own journey began in 1994 when she left the corporate world to follow her calling and teach Reiki. Since then, Maureen has guided countless people through intuitive sessions, life mastery coaching, and transformational workshops designed to help them thrive. She is also the author of My Naked Journey and a contributing author in Chicken Soup for the Soul, sharing her message of authenticity, healing, and personal growth. Thank you so much for Maureen for being here. Please tell us a
Thanks
little
for
bit more about what you do.
I will. So I still do teach Reiki, and my intuitive abilities, I believe, came as a result of my own practice of self-treatment and the use of Reiki on a regular basis. So it wasn't something I learned. It was an aspect of myself that blossomed without me even trying. It just was unfolding. And uh, so I do. I love teaching Reiki. I do travel and teach to the mainland and a few other places occasionally. And I've been teaching now for over 30 years, and so it's a part of my life. And I have to say, if I hadn't made the choice to train to teach Reiki as a Reiki master, my life would have gone a completely different trajectory, and I would probably be still miserable in the corporate world, or um, addicted, or doing something to try and cope with all the stress. So,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, and so now working with my clients and my students in Reiki classes is literally a joy. In fact, I'm telling you, I'm over 65. And when I turned 65, I had someone ask me shortly after that, after my birthday, and they said, "Oh, are you going to retire?" And I looked at them like they had two heads. I was like, "No." I said, I mean, I would literally, I will be doing my intuitive work and teaching Reiki as long as I'm physically able. And I had uh, an astrological chart done by an Ayurvedic astrological chart. And it looked like my life was very active and busy until my mid 90s. So I'm going nowhere as far as I know. Now, those charts aren't always predictions, but it makes me plan ahead that I've got a nice chunk of time ahead of me. So, yeah,
That is exciting. I love that for you. Yeah.
thank you. Me too.
So tell us, how did you get into Reiki?
Let's see if I can do the short version. I had never heard of it, and was working with a boss I had worked with here in Hawaii, and he had relocated, and I agreed to go in for 6 months and help him set up. And he met a woman in Phoenix who was a girlfriend, became a girlfriend of his, and we became very close friends. And so she had taken a weekend course on Reiki, and this was back in 1991. And so she said, "Oh, come over and have a Reiki treatment." And I was like, "Okay, what's that?" She was introducing me to all sorts of new age things in 1991 that I had not ever heard of before. I was kind of in the corporate, you know, reason, logic, science kind of mindset. And anyhow, so she gave me an hour's treatment and she's like, "Oh, do you feel the heat?" I'm like, "No, I don't feel anything." "How can you not feel the heat?" "I feel the—" So that kind of thing. And when she was all done, she did a full hour's treatment. And I was on her bed. And so she said, "Just rest here for a few minutes. And then when you get up, come in the kitchen and get some water and I'll see you in the kitchen." So I sat up a few minutes afterwards and I thought, "Oh, I feel different." I didn't feel anything happening while she was giving me the treatment, but I felt different. And the only way I could describe it was as if I had been really thirsty and I just had a drink of water and that sense of relief. And so that was my only experience of Reiki. And she did do a few other treatments for me over the, next couple of months. And she had asked me, and I had some unusual experiences even that, let me know that something was happening even if I wasn't feeling a lot. And she had suggested that I take the basic first degree Reiki class, weekend class. And she said, and then I'll come and review with her Reiki master. So I'm like, I was just curious. So I took the class. Again, I never felt anything. Everybody else is having great feelings of energy and experience and whatever. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. But the last day of class, we traded treatments with a partner, and my partner got up off the table and she's like, "Wow, your hands are getting hot." And I'm like, "I don't feel it." So finally, she gets up off the table and she looks like she just came out of a very deep sleep. So I knew she was really relaxed. So after that, what I ended up doing, I completed the class and I started, and I was shortly after that back here in Hawaii. And so I would do Reiki for any friends who would sit still or lie down long enough for me to do it because I was desperate for evidence that Reiki was real and it worked. And what I came to realize after a few months of giving my friends treatments was that the energy was always there. But the reason I couldn't feel it is I had been so cerebral. I was trapped in my head. I wasn't aware really of my body or my feelings. And so it was a really interesting way to end up with Reiki because I kept going without having any experience of it myself personally. And then I do have one silly story. By the way, one of the things that I have discovered over the years is I'm a storyteller. And teaching Reiki is beautiful because I have a captive audience for a weekend to tell all sorts of stories. And people enjoy them. They're not rolling their eyes and hoping I stop soon. But this one was, I was in the grocery store in the produce section, and this was a few months after I had been finished Reiki class and I've been giving treatments to my friends. And I was in the grocery store and I picked up a cucumber and another one and I closed my eyes. And what I realized I was doing was feeling the energy of the cucumbers to see which one was fresher. And when I realized what I was doing, I burst out laughing all by myself in the produce section because I was noticing energy to the point where it was helping me buy my produce. And today, my awareness of energy is such an integral part of my being. I actually notice people's energy more than I would notice their hair color or eye color or anything like that. So the energy has been a huge part of my life. The and then Reiki, then just the use of it, I had a couple of kind of unusual experiences that happened spontaneously that moved me into doing the intuitive guidance and the coaching. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I actually do the same with food. I'm just like, okay, which one is higher vibration?
Yeah, exactly.
So fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then, so tell us a little bit more about your intuitive teaching.
It started again, an unexpected thing. I was doing a Reiki session for a Reiki treatment for a man I hadn't met before. He found me online on my website, and this was probably in 2006. And he was receiving Reiki where he lived in New York after a car accident. So he was recovering from injuries from his accident, and he wanted to continue when he was here for 2 weeks. And so talked a little bit about his background and talked about a trip he was going to be doing to Europe and whatnot as, we kind of connected. And then I had him get on the table to do his treatment. And as I started his treatment, I had this experience where I started burping. And that began really when I was training as a Reiki master. And I discovered that the burping isn't digestive or whatever. It's when a lot of energy moves through my body, it makes me burp. So I'm burping and I think, oh, just lots of energy in his treatment. And then all of a sudden, blah, 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 these sentences come flying out of my mouth that have nothing to do with what I was thinking, but they were related to his conversation about his trip. And I don't even remember what I said, but he's lying on the table and he looks up at me and he says, wow. And I said, oh, don't worry. Unusual things happen with Reiki sometimes. It's all good. He said, no, that was really helpful. I said, okay, great. Let's continue your treatment. He comes back another day very soon after that. And he lies down on my table and he starts asking me questions for advice kind of thing. And I'm like, I just agreed to do Reiki. That was a one-off, nothing important. And I started to burp again. And again, these sentences came out of my mouth, and I didn't know what was being said until I heard it coming out of my mouth. And again, it was related to his question, and I could feel the energy of when the words came out, it was like a rush of energy in my body. And I realized that again, it seemed to be helpful. So I explored this with friends for a good year and didn't really tell anybody else about it. And then and that this is an interesting one. I'll share this. So I had a group of girlfriends over and we were drinking wine, and here it's Hawaii, I can say having poo-poo. And I said, I had this strange phenomena happening. It feels good. It feels uplifting, but I have no clue what it is. And people had before, I didn't tell my friends this, but people before had said, oh, you're channeling somebody. Who are you channeling? And I said, it doesn't feel like channeling because I've been present when people channel, and I can feel the energy, the presence of other energy when someone is channeling, additional energy. And so I said, it doesn't feel like that. I don't know what it is. And so these friends, I was just telling them, and one of my friends who tends to be quite a outspoken person anyhow, and she said, can you do it in a group? And I'm like, I don't know. I've always just done it one-on-one. And she says, well, how about now? And I'm like, I've already had a glass of wine. I don't know if anything's going to happen. And she's like looking at me like, so, so I said, fine. And back then I had to keep my eyes closed when I was doing my intuitive work, or my own thoughts would get in the way. Nowadays I can have my eyes open, but so I closed my eyes, told them they were going to have to decide who's going to ask what question. And I relaxed. And that's when burping starts, when there's someone wanting access. And so a couple of questions were answered. And then this same friend said, I have a question. Who are we talking to? What is your name? What do we call you? And the answer that came out, I remember verbatim all these years later, was it would be inappropriate to give a name to the source of this information because then you would consider it separate from yourself. And when I heard that, everything felt right. I was like, I get it. And what it was what I've discovered is my gift, different from someone who's psychic or does predictions or anything. My gift is I get to connect with what I think of as another person's higher self or their inner guidance, whichever way, whatever works for them. And so I don't know the answer to a question when I'm in my intuitive place until it comes through. And so I'm literally just a messenger, and it's lovely. And so I evolved into doing a coaching program. People call it coaching. I don't think of it as coaching because it's very different from traditional coaching. But I do intuitive guidance coaching where I meet with my clients each week for at least 90 days, and I incorporate a part of Reiki. There's an advanced tool where you can work and do distance Reiki literally for someone on the subconscious level where they're dealing with either past trauma, all sorts of things. And so what happens when I'm working with my clients, there's usually some mindsets, programs, beliefs that get in the way of them, living their fullest life or whatever their goals are. And so what I do for my life mastery clients is every morning I sit and I do this Reiki practice, distance Reiki for them that goes to the subconscious to help loosen the habit of these ways of thinking. And it's brought phenomenal results for people. So combining the two makes it even more fun. And I could babble on forever, but I'll let you ask a question. So.
No, I just love it. Yes, I've gotten to hear these stories. So just hearing her share it again, you guys, it's just so powerful. And I love what she does. So yeah, I'm super thankful to have met you. I mean, we met at a dinner, a welcome back dinner, and it was just like we instantly became friends, and
Yeah,
now we're accountability partners, which I'm very thankful for you
it is.
for.
It's lovely. It works for both of us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm just like so intrigued by all the things. And I the first time you came over to my house, you were doing Reiki, and you're like, I can feel like so much energy from you. And I'm like, I know. And then we
Yeah.
both started burping,
Yeah.
releasing energy, which was really interesting as well. So it's been just a beautiful friendship that's blossoming, and then we get to learn more about each other and how we can help one another as well. And you have your Monday um Reiki intuitive
Oh, it's just Reiki. So the
oh okay,
Monday, the
Reiki.
first Monday of the month, I
Mhm.
hold a Reiki circle where we can actually give and receive treatments with each other. And anyone who has been physically initiated into Reiki, so there is a boundary about people who've learned it online without a physical initiation. They are welcome to join us. I ask for a small donation to cover the cost of the room, $10 or $15. And then we meet every week, not every week, the first Monday of every month at the Unitarian Church on the Poly, and we share Reiki treatments for a couple hours. So it's beautiful. Yeah. I wanted to add an interesting topic or some two intuitive sessions I did. So many years ago, I was actually at Unity Church by Diamond Head. And this was in the early years where I started doing group sessions. And one of the interesting things about the group intuitive sessions, and I do them monthly on Zoom, so I will say something at the end about those um, group intuitive sessions that and so had a group at Unity Church one afternoon, and one of the first questions someone had asked, and it was someone I didn't know there, and he had said something about how, after his mom passed, he really felt her presence and was really connected with her. And he said, but it's been a few years now, and what if she reincarnates into another body? Will I lose my mother? Kind of thing. Will I lose this connection? And I had no idea in my own thoughts how this question would be answered. But what happens also, which is beautiful in a group intuitive gathering, the way I call them, is the collective higher selves come together to answer the question. So people who never even ask a question are going to get guidance that is actually coming from their own inner wisdom or things like that. And sometimes it's part of someone else's answer. So it's a delightful experience. And the answer that came out that is really unusual was that when we have to remember that if we think of our eternal self as our soul, and we all use different words, but we'll just use that, our eternal self is a soul, the part of us that is actually fully focused into our human physical experience is only your baby fingernail part of your whole self. And that there's a lot of your spiritual self that is living outside of time and space just eternally. And so this man was told, even if your mother reincarnated dozens of times, you still have that connection and you will always be able to be, together in that way that you do. And these kinds of things that blow my mind that I'm like, I would have never thought of that. So I learned so much from doing all these sessions. And I had a session today with a man who's also a Reiki student, and he's been uh, studying, reading some books and studying. And he was concerned because some of the things he's studying about spirituality is pushing against some of his religious training and he's very religious. And but what he's been hearing, even though his religion doesn't acknowledge reincarnation, all that he's reading about near-death experience and everything. And so we had this beautiful session where he was able to, from what came through in the session, things were said in a way that he could reconcile, what he hears at church and what he's reading and what he's also experienced himself. And it just felt so good to help him have this integration rather than a conflict. And so there's no area of someone's life that the intuitive can't help with. It's amazing. However, I'm not good or it's not my skill to do predictions. So if someone wants a predictive answer, what will come out is some guidance if they want, for example, if someone says, "Am I going to get the job I applied for?" Right? They could ask me something like that. And we would not be able to access that. And what would happen, so when I'm in the intuitive state, I talk about myself in third person. It's kind of a weird thing, but that's how it comes out of my mouth. But what was said was, the reason that Maureen does not do predictions is that there are so many moving parts in time and space. And so every single choice we make between now and another point in time, there are dozens of different variables. Now, there are people who have psychic gifts that have precognition that can see what is most likely to happen. And again, it can never be 100% because things can shift. And so but what'll happen is that then guidance will come out if you are hoping that you get the job or there's something, or if it's really a no, it'll say it doesn't feel, there's not a lot of energy in that, in that situation. So maybe not, but it's never actually a prediction, but it's more like, okay, here's what you can do to align yourself with that possibility happening for yourself. So some guidance can come. Yeah.
I get that because it's like even the way the person is feeling, like just feeling their energy. I'm like, well, this is what's happening right now. However, that could change once you change, once the other person changes, whatever it may be. And so, yeah, I like I like how you worded it and how you shared about, there's no predictions.
Yes, yes. However, and what is good is that many people over time that I've worked with get to sort of a perspective of maybe if we start to trust. So one of the phrases I love is the universe is conspiring on my behalf. And many, many people I know embrace that idea, but not everybody. But if we really do embrace that, oh, I have to tell a story about myself that is crazy. So I was working with a wonderful therapist. In fact, I'm going to tell her name. She's no longer on the island, but I can tell her name because Anita Johnson, and she was in Kailua, and she just really helped me on so many levels. And so one day she had asked me, she said, "Do you believe that the universe is a safe place?" And it was tied into one of Einstein's quotes or something like that. And I said, "Of course I do." And then she looked at me, and this is why she was such a great therapist. And she said, "Well, based on your behavior in this relationship and based on your behavior here, you're not acting like you feel safe in life." And it was like, oh, and it was true, right? So intellectually, I believed it, but I wasn't able to integrate it into my actual beingness and in my life. And so in the intuitive guidance sessions, a lot of times this integration of our beliefs and rewiring either habits of thought or fear-based things that get in our way. And so that's a lot of what the intuitive guidance helps people with, those kind of things. Yeah.
I love that so much. So please tell people, our listeners, how they can find you or if you have any events coming up.
So I do have an online event coming up on Saturday, the 21st, at 10 a.m. Hawaii time. And it's an intuitive gathering. I have a monthly intuitive gathering. So it's on Zoom. It's free. There's no charge. And tomorrow, I don't have it up yet, but tomorrow I will have it on my calendar on my website, which I'll give you in a minute. And so if you go to my calendar of events, Look for Saturday the 21st, and then you will be able to email me and get the link for to join us for free, and so forth. So this topic coming up, I've decided that because Friday is the the spring solstice. So what topic came up? I just pick a topic just to have something to talk about to begin. And what seeds are you planting in this spring solstice? And of course, the seeds are intentions and mental thoughts and so forth. And so that's sort of like just a jumping off point when we start our sessions. And people can come. Again, there's no charge. The link, all you need is the link to join me. And it's about an hour and a half, so up to 90 minutes, and talk about the topic. And there's sometimes a dozen people. Sometimes I go into the 20s, and sometimes it's a handful of 6. It doesn't matter. And but I've never had anyone who has really wanted to ask a question that didn't get time. And they can ask questions on the topic, but they can also ask questions on anything else in their life. And so it's a great way for people to, at no charge, experience what my intuitive guidance is like and have a personal um, question answered if they like. So, and sometimes many people come and just, observe and listen, and I get lots of people. I even have people send me donations saying, I enjoy this so much, I get so much from it. Here's a donation on Venmo or whatever. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Maureen, for being a guest
Thanks
today.
for inviting me.
Yes. So fun.
Oh, my website,
Oh, yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
It's Reiki-Hawaii.com.
Beautiful. Yes.
Thank
And I
you.
know some of her students, they're fantastic humans as well. And Maureen is just super, super awesome. So thank you so much for being on the World of Nutrition podcast.
Yes.
And I did want to give a shout out to Mutual Aid Network. So Mutual Aid Network is a nonprofit. Everybody has skills, right? Not everybody always has the finances to do the skills. So, or to, um, employ everybody for the certain skills. So this was created so we could be able to trade our different skills. So the way that I give back to Mutual Aid Network is I'm able to host Zoom karaoke every quarter, and I think it's coming up in a week or so. And we have people from all over the world just come and sing their favorite songs, either a cappella or with music or with karaoke songs. So it's just super, super fun to just hear the different types of music. Sometimes we have professional singers that are singing as well. And one of the last times we ended with We Are the World. So it was so cool to just all of us singing We Are the World. And that's the way that I love to be able to give back to Mutual Aid Network. And then also I want to give a shout out to Frequence. It is a frequency infused nutritional mental wellness products that I hold very dear to my heart. I'm a caregiver and I'm on the board of a nonprofit caring for the caregivers. It's called Give Me a Break. So caregivers really are so loving and selfless. And I would love to be able to share with them some of our products that um, is all natural, organic, and it has 11 harmonic frequencies infused. So it just helps our organs to remind ourselves what frequency it likes to operate at. So people start feeling better. So this is what I'm going to be sharing tomorrow at Windward Mall. Give Me a Break is putting on resource fair for caregivers and the Caregiver Expo. And that's going to be at Windward Mall from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So please come down and visit. And we will look forward to seeing you on next month's World of Nutrition podcast. Mahalo.